Tim, how's it going? Thought I'd catch you just for 5 minutes to see if you watched The Last of Us last night. You know, the post-apocalyptic dystopian drama series? Well, I caught the first episode of the second series and yeah, loved it. And was intrigued largely by these weird zombie creatures. And then being the geek that I am, sort of looked into whether they were anchored in any kind of reality. And it turns out that the concepts certainly are anchored in reality, and they're based on these fungi called Cordyceps. And these what they do is these fungi infect ants, and I think also other species, and in doing so manipulate them so that they behave in a way that's erratic for the ant, but beneficial for the propagation of the cordyceps. And eventually what happens, and this is utterly bizarre, and I was about to say mind-blowing, which is a horrible pun, as you'll see in a second, that they actually explode from the head of the ants. A new fungi explode from the head of the ant. Now, you're the biologist, and so I'm worried I may have made some horrendous errors in that. So I'm going to hand over to you and see if you can explain that in a bit more detail and tell me if I've gotten wrong anyway. Cheers.
Hi, Simon. Just picked up your video. Terrible pun there, but being a fungi, I can always smile at bad mushroom jokes. Anyway, we too watched The Last of Us, excellent series, and the fungus is, as you say, actually based on a real-life organism, which is called Ophiocordyceps or Cordyceps. So Ophiocordyceps seems to be the sort of preferred Latin name at the moment. And as you said, it's a fungus that infects ants, but that's quite a big genera or genus or class of fungi. And they can also affect, so different species can affect beetles, locusts, butterflies, moths, spiders, and sometimes the caterpillars of the moths and butterflies. So it's pretty cool. As you said, the spores are able to get through the cuticle of these insects. They then release chemicals that alter their behavior, and that behavior involves the organism moving to a place where it dies. After it dies, the fruiting body of the fungus sprouts, in the case of the carpenter ants, from the back of the head. It grows up until a mushroom sort of appears on the back of the head and spores are dispersed. And what's amazing is the fungus not only kills the animal, but it makes it go to a place where the spores are more likely to infect other insects of that species. So it really is quite remarkable. Fungal diseases are actually not just of insects, but of humans, are kind of more understudied than bacterial illnesses or viral illnesses, to be honest. And some of them can be really quite nasty. But there are a number of pathogens, and not just fungi, that can influence the way that their hosts behave. So I remember going to a seminar a few years ago where someone was explaining how mosquitoes that are infected with a species of malaria that they spread from vertebrates to vertebrates actually change their behavior with the malaria parasite, making the animals more likely to go and bite an animal, because that was the way that the parasite spreads. And there's growing numbers of examples of this, but I think the Last of Us one is, the Ophiocordyceps fungus is probably the kind of most startling. No evidence that I'm aware that it's infected vertebrates, but if it did, it's possible that blue hair might be a sign of early infection. And for any of our listeners who are not watching this on YouTube, Syma has delightful blue hair at the moment. Hopefully that's useful. Okay, thanks. Bye.